This is my fish basement, and so far I've poured in a ton of money into this place. This is where I'm planning on starting my goldfish business. And in this video, I'm going to go over just how much money I've spent on equipment so far for this room. I'm also going to go over how much money I've spent on the renovations for this room. That was very pricey. And I'm also going to go into roughly how much I'll believe I'll have to spend in the future to really finish this place up and get it up and running. Let's start with the 110-gallon black stock tanks. Each of these tanks is $110. And in this video, you only see 7 of those 110-gallon tanks, but I actually have an 8th in my room right now. I'm going to be bringing that down. So I've spent $880 on just those tanks. And there's also this 180-gallon stock tank that I bought for $160. So if we add that in there as well, we're at $1,040 for just the stock tanks. Now let's move on to the glass tanks that I've bought. I bought these 75-gallon Aqueon tanks for $130 each because they were on sale. And I bought 4 of them so far. So that's $560. And I also bought one of these 60-gallon breeder tanks from Aqueon that was again on sale, and that was $100. So far I've spent $660 on glass tanks. And when we add that to the stock tanks, we're at $1,700 now. And again, keep in mind, I still have some more tanks to buy. Next up are these racks that I got from Home Depot for $160 each. And I have 3 of them, so that's $480 right there. The nice thing about these rack sets is that you don't have to have them all in one vertical stack. You can actually break it down into 2 shorter racks, which is actually what I'm going to do. So from each of these racking sets, I can rack up 4 whole 75-gallon tanks. One rack with 2 and another rack with 2. So with these 3 racking sets, I'll be able to have a total of 12 75-gallon tanks on racks, and I believe that's all I'm really going to need for this fish room, so I will not be needing to buy any more racks. This brings our total amount to $2,160 so far. Next up is this central air pump that's going to supply air to all the sponge filters in the room. This air pump was $460. I got it online from a company called Gemco. If you guys watched my video where I met up with another basement fish breeder, you'll know he introduced me to this company, so thank you, Chuck, for the recommendation. This brings our total to $2,620. Next up are heaters. I have around 8 of these 300-watt heaters, and they cost about maybe $26 each. So that's another $208. And I also have around 40 sponge filters, and they're about $5 each. That's another $200. So that's $408 in sponge filters and in heaters. We are now at $3,030. This sump pump you see here costed me $110, and the level controller with it costed me around $55. So that's $165 there. And all these other pumps that I'm going to use for water changes costed me $25 each, and I bought 4 of them, so that's another $100. I've also bought a ton of PVC piping so far, 1 for the central airline tubing, and 2 for the PVC piping from the pump out of my window leading it away from my house. And I'm going to need to use a lot of this other piping for drainage for all these tanks. I want to set up a drainage system. I've probably spent at least $250 so far on all the piping and all the joints and all the connections, and also the fasteners to hold it to the wall. This now brings our total up to $3,540. I also bought a couple hoses I'm going to be needing, and these are more expensive than you'd think. I've probably spent around $170 on all these hoses. I also bought 2 of these high-powered dehumidifiers that remove 125 pints of water a day each from the air. So in total together it's 250 pints a day, and in total this costed me $780. This now brings our total up to $4,500. This is roughly everything I've spent so far equipment wise. I know there's probably a bunch of other little knickknacks that I haven't accounted for yet, but this is definitely the bulk. Now, what other equipment do I still need to buy? Well, I still want to buy 2 more 75-gallon tanks. That's $260. I think I want to buy 4 more of the 110-gallon stock tanks. That's $440. Additional pumps, because I want to have basically a pump in every single tank so it's easy for water changes. That might be another $300 there. And then additional tubing and the bulk fittings. Bulk fittings are actually expensive. I want to have bulk fittings attached to each of these tubs to make, drainage and everything easier. That's going to be another $400 roughly, maybe. And then, power strips, extension cords, that's another $100. Additional filters and heaters, I am, guesstimating maybe $300. And I haven't even accounted for lighting yet. I definitely want lights, at least on the glass tanks. I don't know if I'm going to attach any to the 110 gallon stock tanks, but I don't know, maybe $500 in lights. I'm not sure. Now, if all that is roughly accurate, we can say the total's around $6,800 for equipment, but I have a feeling it's not going to be accurate. There's always extra costs that add up out of nowhere. So I'm just going to say it's, an even $7,000, because there's always little extra things you have to buy that you haven't accounted for. Now let's move on to the cost of renovations for the basement. This is the really expensive part that really took a blow to my pocketbook. Between all the labor costs I had to pay to contractors to finish this place up, along with all the material costs, the total for this basement is looking at around $13,000. Which means in total, this fish basement has cost me, or is going to cost me once it's all done, a total of $20,000. If I were to make an average profit of $30 per goldfish sold, that means I would need to sell over 660 goldfish to cover the cost of this basement. Luckily, goldfish sales are not my only source of revenue. I also make a good amount of money from YouTube and social media. So to everyone that subscribed to this channel, thank you so much, especially my channel members. You guys are directly helping pay for this basement. Now, even though I make some money from social media, I'm still at negative money made for this year. I just moved. I have massive mortgage bills. I have electric bills. I have, propane bills. I'm doing all these renovations. Money is flying out the window. But that is something I did take into account before this whole move. So I do have a buffer that I am eating into during this transition period. I just hope that I can flip that cash flow, make it positive again before that buffer runs out. I guess we'll have to see what happens. My number one priority is to finish up this basement as fast as possible so I can start breeding and importing fish and selling again ASAP.